Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 5:30 News on KPAX, Montana's news leader.
New video gives us a dramatic view of the Lola Peak fire as more evacuations are ordered and homes and structures lost due to this devastating fire. Good evening, I'm Dennis Bragg. Jill Valley will be joining us live from the fire scene in a few minutes. More residents are being ordered to leave their homes in the Bitterroot due to the 19,000-acre Lola Peak fire. The Ravalli County Sheriff's Office has issued evacuation orders for residents west of Florence-Carlton Loop from Holloway Lane north to Tie Chute Lane. Mandatory evacuation orders are already in place for the area west of Highway 93 from the north side of Tie Chute Lane north to the Missoula County line. And evacuations remain in place along Highway 12. You see those in red on this map. Evacuation warnings are west of Highway 93 and east of Florence-Carlton Loop from Tie Chute Lane south to Bass Creek Road. You see those in yellow. Ravalli County Sheriff Steve Holton says an evacuation information center is being established in Florence. Evacuees are being asked to provide their contact information at the Ravalli County Search and Rescue Command van. It's parked in the Florence Farmers State Bank parking lot. For information, you can call the fire line at 272-5433. Also, because of the extreme fire danger, Old Highway 93 is closed from the intersection of Long Lane in Florence north through Missoula County. Now, the Missoula County Sheriff's Office reports that 2 homes in the upper Folsom Road area off of Highway 93 in Lola were burned in the Lola Peak fire overnight. Those homes were a total loss, and multiple outbuildings in the area also burned in the fire. The 2 affected homeowners who had been evacuated ahead of the fire have been notified of the loss. Meanwhile, authorities are issuing that warning for the Old Highway 93 for Rowan Road to Long Avenue in Florence, again closed to allow room for the fire trucks to operate. Law enforcement officers are patrolling all of those restricted areas so they're secure. Anyone caught trespassing in a closed area can be stopped and criminal charges can be filed. And we're continuing to monitor this situation closely to get all the critical information you need to keep your family safe. Our Jill Valley joins us now live from the fire camp in Florence. Jill, what's it looking like out there now? It looks like a lot of smoke.
A lot of smoke, Dennis. It's gotten smokier as we've been here for the past hour. Behind me, though, you can see the hard-working fire crews having some dinner. They have tents set up in every quiet patch you could possibly find around here as they get ready for rest, because this could be an incredibly busy weekend for them. When we got here, there is fire on the ridge above me. It's above these tents. It's hard to see now. Very smoky. We could see fire flaring up now and then. We're told that was actually a spot fire that started yesterday and burned up toward Carlton Creek. That is how dry it is. There is fire activity in virtually every canyon between Florence and Lola. Now, they're waiting for this cold front to come through that's going to bring in winds. Right now, the winds are gentle, but we've had a couple of gusts, and that is of a concern to them. However, today they took advantage and got out there to try to fight this beast. Lauren Heiser was there and got a look at their work.
The smoke grows thicker as you head towards the containment line dug by firefighters. As we drove, in some spots you can even see it hanging over the city below. The line itself was dug by a bulldozer and is about 4 feet across.
We build that dozer lines around the edge of the fire here in places that we think we can hold the fire. And we look at the weather forecast like we knew yesterday. We knew today's red flag warning was coming. So our plan was to bring fire down the ski slope, down the north edge of the ski slope, and hold it there, and then bring the dozer line along the front all the way from Division Foxtrot and Division Hotel here to try and contain the edge of the fire.
You can easily see where firefighters have created a black line by burning fuels on the side closest to the fire. Firefighters on all sides of the fire work continuously to reinforce and defend the line. There were spot fires in the grass where the fire had already burned, but firefighters worked quickly and had those under control. Despite the harsh conditions, the firefighters I spoke with were determined to keep fighting to make sure that no one else would lose their homes. In Lola, I'm Lauren Heiser with MTN News.
And as you can imagine, everybody has been working hard since July on this. They're understandably tired, but there is a break on the way. Deputies from both Missoula and Ravalli counties are going to get some much needed help because National Guard troops are going to start arriving this weekend to help with the Lola Peak fire. Deputies for both counties have been pulling long hours for the past week as they've carried out evacuation orders and then manned those roadblocks. A lot of that work has been notifying the hundreds of homeowners to head for safety, but then keeping those areas closed to keep property secure presents an additional workload. They're also the officers who are trying to keep people moving safely through the fire zone. Ravalli County Sheriff Steve Holton and Missoula County Sheriff TJ McDermott were more than ready to welcome the Montana National Guard's help when it was offered yesterday.
Our resources are strained. Our deputies are working long shifts, long hours without any breaks, sometimes no days off for rest. So when the opportunity presented itself to have the National Guard make themselves available to handle closed areas and roadblocks and road closures, we welcome that.
McDermott says the Guard's role will be handling checkpoints and security. Dennis, I don't know if you can see this, but we're in the middle of a wind gust right now. This is what they're worried about. We'll be back a little bit later to talk about strategy and about this incoming weather system that could make things rough this weekend. Back to you.
Thanks, Jill. And as you saw there with that wind gust coming up, we do have dangerous fire weather in the forecast through tonight with more on the red flag warnings. Let's send it over now to the Storm Tracker Weather Center with Russ Thomas.
Yeah, I think what you just saw told the story. I don't know how much more I can say. Amongst all the fires, all the smoke we're seeing, yes, it's being complicated by a red flag warning. The wind, the big factor, low humidity is the other. Now, this is through 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. You see it encompasses all of western Montana. And of course, the real concern here is these fires spreading quickly due to the wind. Looks like the time period we're going to have the heaviest wind actually comes between about 6 p.m., which we're coming up on, through about midnight tonight as the front passes through. Right now, winds 13 miles per hour out of the west in Kalispell, northwest at 10 in Missoula. But again, those winds are increasing. We'll have more coming up in just a few minutes.
So a lot of you are asking how you can help the victims who are affected by the Lola Peak fire. The Florence Civic Club is currently accepting donations to their community emergency fund. Those funds will help victims of the Lola Peak fire, as it did for last year with the big Roaring Lion fire outside Hamilton. You can donate at any Farmer State Bank and Florence Ace Hardware. GoFundMe account is also being set up to help raise money for evacuees. The goal is to raise $20,000. All of that money will go directly through the 406 Family Aid Foundation. The Missoula Food Bank is also accepting food donations. All that information is found on our website at KPAX.com. The town of Stevensville is offering Lewis and Clark Park for campers and trailers for evacuees. Pool, showers, and restroom facilities are available from 8 to 6 p.m. For more information, you can contact Stevensville Town Hall during business hours at 777-5271 extension 4. Now, for a complete list of resources available and all that's going on with the fires, of course, our website, the best place to go as we keep you updated on this. Now, moving on to the Rice Ridge fire. Some good news there. Seeley Lake waters are being open again to recreators after being shut down to help with firefighting operations on the Rice Ridge blaze. The Lola National Forest announced this afternoon that Seeley Lake is being reopened to boaters. Fire officials say conditions were favorable for both aerial and ground-based firing operations on Thursday. There is still increased potential for fire growth due to red flag warnings. Fire managers are continuing to use some of those firing operations along Morell Mountain, working off the completed areas from the past several days as they continue to try to get some containment there. A community meeting to discuss the Rice Ridge fire is going to be held Monday. That'll be at 6 p.m. at Seeley Lake Elementary. Police are investigating in other news tonight a possible homicide that happened in a Missoula neighborhood, and 2 people are in custody. MTN's Don Fisher has been following the story today, and he has the latest.
Police came to issue a search warrant at a residence on Strand Avenue Thursday night when they discovered evidence of a possible homicide, leading to this investigation. Sergeant Travis Welsh of the Missoula Police Department says the warrant was presented to the residents in conjunction with the reported home invasion, burglary, and stabbing that happened in late July. Upon entry, officers discovered evidence of other crimes, including homicide. Strand Avenue resident Megan Husengay witnessed the incident.
We seen a SWAT team roll down Johnson with a police officer behind it, and I was able to get my girls inside. They went over to this house over here and said they had a search warrant and busted in the door.
2 individuals have been taken into custody as the investigation continues. They identified as 23-year-old Tiffany Pierce and 26-year-old Augustus Standing Rock. The victim's identity has not been released. Husengay says this is just another example of a neighborhood seeing more and more crime.
Unfortunately, this neighborhood, you can walk or drive down the street and see needles just everywhere. My daughter went to Franklin Park the other day and there was a needle in the park. So this neighborhood is kind of going downhill. Unfortunately, grew up here my whole life.
In Missoula, Don Fisher, MTN News.
Information on the case, but we're continuing to follow it, and both are expected to make their initial appearances in court on Monday afternoon. We'll be there.
Salute to Service is brought to you by Flathead Electric Cooperative, your not-for-profit member-owned co-op.
At the Northwest Montana Fair, young participants in organizations like 4-H and FFA get the opportunity to have some fun and show off their livestock. But with show season also comes concern about livestock health. In our Salute to Service report, Nicole Miller introduces us to a Flathead Valley vet who volunteers his services to ensure every animal gets checked for disease.
Thousands of animals come into contact with each other at the Northwest Montana Fair.
Any question, any trouble at all?
It's early in the morning when the miniature horses begin arriving. Dr. Scott Smiley is checking them for any indication of respiratory distress or fever.
Make sure the animals coming in are of reasonably good health and don't present a communicable disease risk to other animals or to people.
Dr. Smiley has been practicing veterinary medicine in the Flathead Valley for more than a decade. About 5 of those years he's been volunteering at the fair.
This mostly involves children getting involved with agriculture, and I think that that's good for children to develop empathy and develop a sense of financial and temporal responsibility. I think animal husbandry allows an opportunity for a lot of those things to happen.
This is 1-year-old little guy. He's a bay colt miniature horse, and this is his first year at the fair, and he checked out just fine.
When little guy returns home, he won't be bringing any communicable diseases with him, and that's important to Dr. Smiley. But what's also important is this community.
Nice to see the community have a venue to come together, whether it's to go to the carnival or go to the animal show, but to be a part of that and help that happen is important to me.
In Kalispell, Nicole Miller, MTN News.
Of course, it takes more than one veterinarian to check all of the animals at the fair. There are several others that help out too. All livestock entering the fair gets a general physical exam, and all are checked for different diseases depending on the animal and species. Our live coverage of the Lola Peak fire continues after the break here on MTN. Next, Jill checks back in, speaking with a public information officer at the fire camp about what's going on right now as they continue fighting this fire as we head into the weekend. Stay with us on KPAX.